Coming up on the Sports Reporters.
Tried to become a detective on how that happened. Like, what did I? Oh, Adam, we got something good?
Oh, yeah, we do. Can we pause this right now? Oh, seriously.
Sure.
Hold on a second. Pause.
This is how it works.
I love that we're getting to see like a behind the scenes of the process here.
I'm trying to type it, and it's like, I know I got this going. My heart's pounding. Here we go.
I'm Jeremy Schaap, and here are today's Sports Reporters.
I'm Shams Charania. I will not be greeting like Adam Schefter on a football field or roasting you like Jeff Passan on Twitter, but I'm here.
I'm Jeff Passan, and like the gentleman on your screen, I don't sleep either.
I'm Adam Schefter, and I have the worst hair of any of the insiders.
I don't know about that.
It's been consistent, though, Adam. It's been consistent.
Easy to groom. So I think we're going to have some fun here, guys. You are all dominant forces in the world of sports news and information. Millions and millions of followers, a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety, I'm sure. So what is it about this job in particular that you guys do that you love? Shams.
So, I look up to people like Adam and Jeff, but for me, I feel like if I'm not doing this, or if I wasn't doing this, I would still be obsessing over the same information. I would still be somewhere, whatever line of work I'm doing, I wouldn't be really fulfilling my passion and what I feel like I was born to kind of do in the lane I was born to be on. But for me, the love of this started with my love for basketball. It started with I played basketball up until high school. And then I got cut sophomore year of high school. And then it was like, what do I do next? And I loved writing and I loved basketball. And it was just combining both passions. And I really feel strongly like if I wasn't doing this, I probably would be lost and still obsessed with all of this stuff anyway. And so to be able to cultivate relationships along the way. And I think the biggest thing that helped me out early is that I was just naive. I didn't have a way in. Like, I didn't really know the codes of ethics or standards that were in place. I was just kind of winging it at all times. And I think in a way that helped me because I had no expectations. But it also, it made clear to me that I had a lot of things to learn, a lot of people to look up to.
Jeff.
I went to journalism school to be a writer. I looked at the New Yorker and I looked at the Atlantic and all the great magazines that are out there and just wanted to tell human stories. So getting into the transactional side of things, the news side of things, the television side of things, it was not part of the plan at all. But what I found over the years is that those parts of the job, the news breaking, make me smarter in the other parts of the job and make me better. And it took me more than a decade to recognize that, really to embrace it. But I love this part of the job now. It keeps me awake, as I said, but keeps me alive too, keeps me on my toes. And I think more than anything, our duties in our roles are to inform the massive fan bases that exist for each of our sports and to teach them, to educate them, to enlighten them as to what modern baseball, football, and basketball are actually like. And more than a free agent signing, more than a trade, any of those individual transactions, it's really the quilt of all of those put together that shows the tapestry of where a sport is right now.
Jeremy, those are a lot of fancy words there from Jeff. I don't know that I'm that sophisticated, but I will say this. I know you had a very famous father who I always idolized. I know how you felt about him, and he was always as good at what he did as anybody who's ever done anything. My father really was a salesman, a schlock salesman. And he used to go to work, and I would read the New York Times in the morning and Newsday on Long Island, and I would comb through those newspapers looking for nuggets and factoids to share with him when he got home from a hard day of work. And I'd say, did you hear who the New York Jets are signing? Did you hear who the New York Knicks are trading? Did you hear who the New York Yankees are acquiring? And I was always fascinated by the comings and goings of sports. And then it evolved into something totally different once I went to college and started writing in the newspaper there, the Michigan Daily. But now I'm at the point in my life where when I hear Micah Parsons say, I want to be traded, I want to know what happened here. Why is he demanding a trade? And with anything, I see a football player go down on the field. What happened to his knee? I got to know right now. And so it's almost like my brain has been rewired and conditioned to think the way I did as an adult, but more as a professional now, all these years later. And so it's just the way that I've come to think. It's something that we do. Shams saying he couldn't imagine living without it. Again, I feel the same way. It's just something that my body has been programmed to do. I don't love everything that's done to my brain, but it's a way of life right now that I couldn't imagine being without.
Well, this role though, right? Especially, you, Adam, and you, Shams, and Jeff, you have some other roles that you fill in what you're doing. You're still doing a lot of, features, and you're doing storytelling in a way on the job that is less a part of what Adam and Shams do on an everyday basis. But, when I was growing up, when Adam was growing up, when Jeff was growing up, maybe not so much when you were growing up, Shams, the big job in the newspaper was the columnist on the sports side, right? The columnists were the stars. They traveled the world. They got to cover whatever they wanted to cover, write about whatever they wanted to write about. And these roles that you guys have become paramount. How have you seen that evolution? How have you seen that process as what you guys do has become the bread and butter, Adam?
Well, we alluded to the fact of your father, and I could think growing up, I wanted to be like Dick Schaap. I wanted to be like Mitch Albom. I wanted to be like Mike Luka and many of the men that created this show that we're doing today. That was my goal. And I don't know how and when it changed, Jeremy, but somewhere along the way, there was a shift from opinions to information. And it feels like people craved information more than they did opinions. Now, look, there are a ton of people in the media today who make a great living and do an incredible job expressing their opinions. But I don't ever remember a time when people were more curious about actual factual information. And I guess that plays to what we all do on this show. Jeff, Shams, you, Pete Thamel, we gather information. And somewhere along the way, there was a shift. I think there's probably little kids today who want to grow up to be Shams and Jeff rather than Dick Schaap or Mitch Albom or Mike Lupica. I don't know when that changed, but it feels like it did somewhere along the way.
I think there are 2 points here where we can look at it and say that it shifted. I think the first is that the internet democratized opinion. Everybody could go and put their opinion out there. And sometimes some random jabron on the internet actually had a better opinion than the newspaper columnist. And it's like suddenly you don't need to be in locker rooms or clubhouses to have good opinions on sports. I think part of that was analytics, teaching and educating the fan bases more than they had been. So the second part, though, and I think the part where information really took over, is fantasy sports. People don't care what your opinion is on who someone should start at quarterback or at wide receiver 3. What they care about is who's healthy or who's not, who's going to play and who's not. And I think the proliferation of that is ultimately what helped push you, Adam, to the point you are right now. One of the, sorry to say it, don't mean to blow your head up, like one of the most powerful people in sports. When you say something, it matters. And tens of millions of people are influenced by it. And Shams, you're a young guy. You're just getting into this. I'm sure you see that the same way, though, and understand and recognize there's a large responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah, no, I think I'm obviously in a different place. I feel like I was coming into, I guess knowing what sports is and all of that, like mid 2000s was really when I started closely following sports. And I think that around that time, that 2006 to 2010 period, like for me, I was just so obsessed with like, where's this player going in the NBA? Where's this coach going? Like, is this trade happening? Like I was growing up in Chicago, like I was really monitoring every day leading up to each trade deadline. I remember in middle school and in high school specifically, like I was obsessed with that stuff. I would be sitting in science class, like 7th, 8th grade, or the Bulls going to trade for TJ Ford or Aaron Aflalo. Like That's really what consumed my life. And so now with what I'm doing, I feel like I'm just living out my dream. Like, I feel like I'm just living out stuff that I was craving and like desperate to find out anyway. And so to be in this position, it is cool, but it's also, like Jeff said, there's a lot of responsibility. And of course, when I started, I started on this path, this journey, sophomore year of high school. That's about 2010, 2011-ish. And so for me, I wasn't able to just report right off the bat. Like, I also approached it looking from afar, like how do I handle myself? Like, how do I build relationships? I was cold calling agents, cold calling players, cold calling executives, cold emails, and all of that, whatever form of communication I could. And then it really was like analysis and feature stories. So like, I really came up as a writer. I was writing 3,000, 5,000 words a day in high school and in college. And it wasn't until I started to break a few stories that I don't know if I love the adrenaline rush that came with it. I don't know why, but maybe that's really what my calling was, because that's what I was obsessed with growing up. So
Shams, you're saying exactly what I was saying. Growing up, craving that information, and you started this in 2010-11, which oddly enough, I joined ESPN in 2009. And when ESPN hired me in 2009, if you could imagine this, I did not have a Twitter account. Okay. So they hired me without having an account. I remember one of my buddies at NFL Network, Bardia Shareas, who I work with there, he said, "You should try this Twitter thing. It's kind of fun and interesting. I think you're going to like it." And so literally,
you're June 2009, Jeff's right around the same time. And you might be 2010, Shams, but you were like 14. So you probably have
I was 2010. That's good.
Right, I looked it up.
Yeah.
I started
you know why I did
Twitter
2010?
account.
It's because of LeBron James. That's the only reason.
Oh, love the interaction. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I started my Twitter account. I was in Big Bear, California, and I was about to have breakfast with Shaun White because I was writing about the Olympics and was going to be doing a feature story on him. And someone texted me, Aroldis Chapman, who's near the end of his career now. Aroldis Chapman is signing with a National League Central team. And it was early in the morning, and I was working at Yahoo Sports at the time, and they're all based out of California, so everyone was asleep. So I wasn't going to be able to get it up there. I had tried to hold off so much getting onto Twitter. I'm like, I don't need another thing to do. And finally, I was like, all right, no other way to get this information out. Let's put it out there. And that was the beginning of the most dysfunctional relationship in my life.
Right. But that's also the spot. And we're trying to figure out when this changed. And I think that is a time where that change began to occur, where people didn't open up the New York newspapers to go read a columnist anymore. They wanted to know whether somebody was being traded, whether somebody's playing in a game, whether a coach is being hired or fired. And you could get that immediately on Twitter.
When I think about your jobs, I like get the jitters. I get the shakes. I mean, I should, right? How do you manage that constant dopamine rush and the anxiety and the nervousness about somebody else breaking it, and just managing all of the relationships you have with all of the people in your sports? I guess it's just the day-to-day of the workload and the time on the phone. How do you live life, Shams?
It's a great question. I think there's not a ton of, like, the word balance I've just completely thrown out. I mean, to me, if I'm doing this, and I'm sure Adam and Jeff feel the same way, you have to be all in. And I feel like I carry that with everything I do. As far as like lessons that I've learned, I learned very early on, like, I have to be all in. But Adrian Wojnarowski, who I worked with at Yahoo Sports, Jeff worked with at Yahoo Sports, he gave me advice, like, when I was first starting to really talk about going to the vertical, and then we started the vertical, which is like, you don't want to be the one that calls an agent or calls for information on the first day of free agency. And so to me, that gave me a valuable lesson. Like, this can't be something, it can't be a tit for tat. It can't be something, where you don't go speak to someone for a year and then you're blowing them up for information about a signing or a trade or whatever. Like, you want to have.
You got to lay the groundwork. It can't just
Right.
be that transactional and that transparent. It's about long-term actual relationships.
And for me, every single day is a continuation of the prior day, and like continuing the conversations with the same people, the people, the quote unquote sources, right? The people that you build relationships with. And so that was very important. I still have goosebumps to this day when I feel like I'm onto something, when I get a tip, when I get a story, of course. There's definitely an adrenaline rush that comes with it still. So maybe when that doesn't happen, it's probably the day where where I think you just leave, or you're just like, I don't care about it the same or whatever. But I still have such a great love and passion. And as long as those goosebumps are still there, like it's every single day is like game on.
Well, a couple of things here. Number one, Chris Mortensen obviously signed off on ESPN, hire me back in the day. And I think Mort had the foresight and vision to see where this business was headed. And frankly, he didn't want to be a part of that. He was so great at what he did, the relationships, getting at stories, figuring out news. But he saw this lifestyle that you're talking about, Jeremy, and I don't think he wanted to do that anymore. And Shams brought up Woj, and Woj got out of it because he didn't want to do it anymore. It just became too relentless, because it is unbelievably relentless. And about a year ago, we all went to a concert in Pittsburgh. Jeff was there. I was there. Pete Thamel was there. Woj brought together a bunch of people, including many from the basketball world. And we saw Bruce Springsteen in concert. And I would say, and I thought of this the other day, there are very few instances in our lives where you forget that your phone is on you, you forget what your job is, where you actually pause and enjoy life. And I don't mean to be morbid and depressing about it, but to Sham's point, you live these jobs. And there are very, very few moments where you feel like you're disconnected from the job. It almost never happens. And when you can escape for an hour or two to see Bruce Springsteen and forget about what you're supposed to do, which almost never happens, that is a reminder of how daunting and challenging these jobs are, how much they require. Look, I think everybody's job, if you're conscientious about it, is something that you live all the time. But Woj would come to Bristol during NFL free agency. He had done this a couple of times, and he watched me the first day, and he said, I just wanted to watch what it was like for somebody else to do it, so that I would have that PTSD of watching somebody else do the job that takes.
He did the same thing with me, and it was a little bit daunting, honestly. It's like if you're a baseball player and Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge are watching you swing. It's like, how can you do it like them? But I think there's a kinship among us. Like there are very few jobs like this, not just in sports journalism, not just in journalism, but anywhere. They are all consuming. And Shams, I try to find balance. I do my very best. Adam and I have kids. Like it becomes different at that point. And I hope for your sake that you can find that at some point too, because as obsessive as we have to be, there needs to be something else. And everybody, whether you find that something else in kids or otherwise, you got to find it, or this job will kill you.
But it is a transition. And if I could share this story, because I love this story, it's so good. When I became a father and my daughter Dylan was about a year old, I remember going out. I would take her to lunch every day, and I'd be on the phone and feeding her. And I went to go get gas, and I'm in the gas station waiting for Jeff Fisher to finally get a head coaching job. And in that particular head coaching cycle, Jeff Fisher was the hot name, and he had finally gotten a job. He was being hired as the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. And I ran home from the gas station, and I ran inside to this very office that I'm sitting in right now. And I jumped on TV to go do Sports Center. And I'm doing Sports Center. And my wife walked into the office and she goes, "Where's Dylan?" I'm like, "Oh, I forgot she's in the car." That happens sometimes. I don't know that I'm proud of it, but sometimes you get so wound up that you forget everything else that's going on in your life, including your own family and children.
So what do you guys do to get away beyond a Bruce Springsteen concert in Pittsburgh once a year? Like, what do you do, Adam, to actually, find some balance, some serenity on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, whatever it can be?
I'm the wrong guy to ask that question to, because my life is out of balance. I'm just telling you right now, like, again,
you still have to find some release. If it's a glass of red wine, if it's it's got to be something.
We have 4 dogs, and we spend a lot of time at home playing with our dogs. And I relish those moments when the phone is not ringing and we're sitting around enjoying peaceful moments, and I can get through a show or streaming without being interrupted. But I got to be honest, Jeremy, these are not 9 to 5 jobs. These are not Monday to Friday jobs. These are nonstop, 365, 24/7, whatever you want to call it. That's just the way it is. You could have any dinner, party, anything interrupted. It happens all the time. It comes along with the job. You understand it. And I don't say it as a complaint. I don't want people to think I'm complaining about it either. This is what it takes. As Sham looks over to his phone to see if he just missed a story, right? Like, that's what it takes. You just always have to be on.
We'll be done soon.
I think what like Adam, he had the story with young Dill, who I actually met. She's a star. Like I've had to walk out on dates. Like I've had to walk out on like social events, a lot of social events.
Very well.
My friends don't really like me. That's why it's very hard to have a consistent relationship, because it's just like, the time that requires, and the time that they deserve rightfully. And there are just moments where I'm just always going to choose this as of right now. The one thing that I do, like how I'm able to get away, is just family time. My whole family's in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. And so we're all like here. We're all in very close proximity. So it's like the little things, right? It could be going on a walk, could be going to, mini golf. It could be playing pickleball, like just like watching a movie together. Now, again, I might not be fully present during those moments. Like we were literally playing pickleball. This is right before free agency. This is the weekend before free agency started. And I had to fly to Bristol. This is maybe that Friday before. And we were playing pickleball. And literally I lasted 10 minutes on the court. They were there for maybe an hour and a half. I was just literally pacing on the field for whatever it was, 50, 60 minutes, because that's just what it is. And so, but just trying to be present. And I think my family is gracious enough to where, like, as long as I'm in their presence, they don't make me feel bad. And I think having those types of people around me is what, allows me to keep going.
Pickleball right before the deadline is impressive, Shams.
I've been to a concert before. I went to a Justin Timberlake concert the weekend before the NBA draft a couple years ago. Not probably the best decision I've ever made. Thankfully, no trades happened that night.
Honestly, that is a good decision that you made, though, because you're trying. Jeremy, I like cooking. I would be a chef if I were not a reporter. And so that is how I calm myself down. I've watched probably too much high school baseball with my son playing, and pickleball has become like a good, fun summer activity. I'm with you, Shams.
Oh, that's great. So, but seriously, like when you've got one of those big weeks coming up, right? It's the trade deadline, or it's free agency, or it's a draft, and it's going to be 24/7 to an even greater extent than it typically is. Great chess players for a chess match, you don't think of it as physical. They have to train physically, right, to endure it. Do you guys go to someplace mentally or physically to train to get ready before those big events on the calendar?
I would say this, that if you go back to when you're in college and it's the week before finals, that's what it feels like. And you just know all the work that's ahead, all the hours that await. The lack of sleep that there's going to be. And it happens every year. And that's why I always love getting to about April 1st, because we've just finished the heart of the NFL offseason. You're headed into the draft season, and you can catch your breath and feel like a person again, which really throughout the month of March, you don't often get to feel like. Those are victories that you relish in at that point in time. I think when it's those busy times, whether it's the trade deadline for Jeff or free agency for Shams or whatever it may be, you're in it. And there's no way out of it other than to just immerse yourself in it, get through it the best way you can, and look forward to coming out on the other side of it.
I make spreadsheets.
Of course you do.
It allows me, because here's the thing. When you're going into a time like that, and I think the fellows can attest to this, there is so much information coming at you at once that it can be really difficult to organize it in your head. Like, knowing if somebody asks me offhand,
like, these are the teams, these are the players.
Yeah. I mean, there are 30 to 32 teams that we have to deal with. In Shams's case, there are 15 players, and mine there's 26, and Adam's there's like 60. Like there's
60 a day. 60 a day, Jeff.
I mean, there's just an enormous universe of players and of teams and of sources that you have to keep in mind. So the way that I found works best for me is be as organized as I possibly can be, so that if I need to look up who all the relievers are available, all I got to do is click at the top of the column and it'll give me the list right there. If I need to look it up by age, by years of service, by who their agents are, by what clubs they have, at least I have that information there. And even if it doesn't in actuality make me any likelier to get the news, it helps me feel prepared. And walking into trade deadline day or walking into free agency with the feeling that you have at least some sense of what's going on, to me makes the difference between a day that's going to go well and a day that could be disastrous. Because we are where we are in our professions. I'm as grateful as I can possibly be for that. But I still lack confidence sometimes. I still have bad days. I still look when I get beat by a story and get pissed off and wonder, am I losing it? Like, what went wrong here? And so all these things are, I don't know about you guys, those things go through my head all the time. And that's just my way, having that information organized, that's my way to fight that.
It's crazy, Jeremy. I do something very similar to Jeff. Like, before every trade deadline, before every free agency, before every draft season, like if I know of course, free agency is like, you can look it up online. You can look up like the top 30 free agents. You write down top 30. Like in my notepads, I have the 30 top free agents, their agents, but then trade deadline and then draft season is usually where there's a lot of trades, right? So you'll have like a list that you'll have internally. If this ever if this ever leaked, everyone would see which players I'm tracking that could be traded, right? Because like Adam and Jeff can attest to, on any given day during the heart of that type of season, draft, free agency, trade deadline, there's probably 50 to 60 players that you're monitoring at all times. Probably 5 or 6 actually get traded. And so in the NBA, especially with the player movement that's been going on over the last several years, I literally make a list. I make a list of like all the team execs or agents that I know I can reach out to for said player or whatever. And I'm just checking them off. And it's like, for me, just visually seeing that, especially in free agency, helps. And then as far as prep, I think I go back to the advice earlier. It's like, I feel before free agency, before draft, before trade deadline, all my work, I feel like has been done. Like, I really feel like a lot of the work has been done just from the communication that's already been there with relationships and sources. But again, you can't prepare for Luka Doncic being traded. There's certain things you genuinely don't know is coming. You can't prepare for, and that's what gets you on your toes, right? That's what gets you the adrenaline rush to an even higher level, higher extreme. And so those are the moments you live for. And why you feel like the people that might give you that information are the people you're dealing with all year on stuff that is, you're not expecting, a news of that caliber potentially. So to me, I feel like the work has already been done. And when you get in that moment, it's like, you feel like you're built for it. Like Adam said, you're not going to have sleep that week or those couple weeks. You're going to be in a locked in zone. You're not going to be the most reasonable person to be around. You're going to be a little irritant. And so I know when I get in that place, it's time. And thankfully, like I said earlier, having people around you, your loved ones that like understand that. That's been most important for me. Like if I had one of my family members that like genuinely was upset, or like if my mom harbored feelings against me for that, I don't know if I could continue to do this, but they've been very open and like they've been great that I want to do this.
The Luka story, right? And massive global scoop, all that. What was it like in that moment for you? And my career is not nearly distinguished as any of yours, but I've had a couple of scoops over the last like 30 years. Nothing on that kind of level, obviously. But like my sense was always like you had so much adrenaline, I didn't even think about eating, and which is rare for me. So like, what was it like for you in that moment?
I mean, it was definitely surreal. It was a whirlwind that night. I mean, I didn't sleep. I slept like 30 minutes that night, and I had a flight the next morning to Bristol to go to Bristol for free agency. I'm like, we're going to be covering De'Aaron Fox trade. We're going to be covering Jimmy Butler getting traded this week. There's always going to be other outlier deals that come up. But those are the big names. And then when that came up, what's crazy, and I'm sure Adam and Jeff can attest to this as well. So that deal happened on a Saturday night. On Wednesday, I gotten a tip from a few sources that essentially the Mavs and Lakers were talking about a deal. There was a player they were discussing. That player was nowhere to be found in the actual deal. But it was like I was getting hit up by other team execs, coaches I know in Dallas, coaches I know with the Lakers, people around both teams like, hey, we have something going on. It's about this player. And then, you check with people that you trust. And they're like, no, there's nothing there. I'm like, okay. So when I got, the heads up that, Markieff Morris is being traded to the Lakers, Maxi Kleber is getting traded to the Lakers. Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to Utah with a couple second-round picks. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, what kind of trade is this? Is this like a salary dump deal? Like, what am I covering right now? And then obviously everyone buried the lead. And then, by the time I got down to it, it took 7 minutes. By the time I got the tip on it, it was 11:05 Central, 11:12 Central. I tweeted it. It took me 7 minutes to get all the details, confirm it, write up the tweet. And that's definitely one tweet. And the one thing that eats at me is having a typo in a tweet. I hate editing tweets. I hate it with a passion. It eats at me. Even the slightest typo. So, but that's a tweet I like. You can't have any typo. You can't get anything wrong. So I like went through it multiple times.
Wait, so does your editor see that tweet before you press post or whatever you press?
No, you're going with it. Especially, I mean, definitely, there's moments
in your head. There's no editor in that process anymore. Even something that big.
There's no one even. I mean, there was no one that was up. It was 12-12 on a Saturday night.
I think they would have woken up if you'd called them.
They would have woken up, but that was also when I wasn't telling many people about it. I was just, I'm going with it.
Jeremy, like in that moment, it's like, I don't know if you guys have this, and in this situation, Shams, like, I don't know what it would have been like, but when I get really big news and I'm not near my computer, I'll always go to my computer if I can, because I trust my typing fingers more than I do my thumbs. But if I get really big news, my hands start shaking a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I want to make sure every little detail of that is correct. And because your mind is still like, Shams, your mind has to have been trying to process everything. Like what here, Jeremy, this to me is like the coolest part of our job. Think about what you're about to do when you send that tweet. You are literally going to change the course, or not change the course, but deliver news that is changing the course of a sports history. You are about to make nights. You are about to ruin nights. There are going to be fights in houses because of you, and there is going to be champagne popped because of you. That's what the responsibility of this job is. And that's that's why I think each of us, I'm proud that we all take it as seriously as we do. And we understand that the consequences of having that finger touching the button that says post has a chance to affect not just America, but in the NBA's case, in the NFL's case, the world instantaneously. And there is immense power in that.
Let me speak for Shams and Jeff and me and Pete and anybody who has done this job.
And let me just say, Adam, Pete would have been here, but I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about his private, but he just had a baby. I don't think it's a state
That's
secret.
A weak excuse. That's a weak excuse.
Very weak excuse.
So you talk about releases and getting away. So in July, the first day of July, actually it was June. What's the last day in June? 30 or 31? I don't even know how many days. 30. Okay, so it was June 30th and July 1st.
That's all
I was invited to go play at Oakmont in the site of the U.S. Open. I'd never played there. I'm not a very good golfer, but there was a guy that had organized a trip, 8 guys. Great. Okay. Fly to Pittsburgh, land in Pittsburgh, and get wind that there are a few trades coming down. Now, I happen to be riding with this guy who had never been up close and seen this. And he's like, I can't believe you're reacting like this. I go, what? He goes like, I can't believe how much adrenaline you have, how fired up you are, how wound up. And that's what I guarantee you Shams feels like that on any big story. I guarantee you Jeff feels like that on any big story. I guarantee anybody who does this job feels like that on any big story. I've done this for 35 plus years. I'm 58 years old. If your heart isn't still pounding, if it's not skipping a beat or two, if you're not feeling that surge of adrenaline, then you shouldn't be doing the job.
What's your Mona Lisa?
Amen.
Amen. If you could pick one, and I know it's like asking you to pick, your favorite kid, but of all the scoops, all the big stories, all the tweets, all the things that have reverberated around the world once you press send, what do you consider your Mona Lisa, Adam?
I don't like to think like that, Jeremy. Honestly, I like to think of more the times where people reach out to you and like, hey, want to give you a heads up on this story, like, and they keep their word and they honor what they said. Like those are the things that mean more to me than any story that I've done. I've heard from people, coaches and players have called after trades have been made to thank me for the way I presented it. Things like that you remember more than individual stories. And not to be cliched or anything, but you're asking for a big story, and I would go to what Tom Brady would say about which was his favorite Super Bowl ring, the next one, and that's what it is. The next story is my favorite one.
Jeff,
mine is not a transactional scoop. I got a call from a guy named Drew Robinson, and he wanted to tell me a story about how he had tried to kill himself and lived through it. And the story I wound up getting out of that and the relationship I wound up making with Drew, it goes beyond the Emmy that is over my shoulder here or beyond the written story, which I think is the best thing I'm ever going to write. I think it goes to the point. I think it goes to the point, Jeremy, where all of these years of doing this transactional stuff bought me credibility that allowed me to fulfill what I got into this business to do. And I'm very appreciative of all the people who have trusted me over the years and very thankful for all the relationships that I have because, impactful journalism is what I wanted to do. And with that story, I felt like that's what we were able to.
And it's interesting, Jeff, too, because, you mentioned Drew Robinson, just coincidentally, Jackie Robinson, you broke a story this year about Jackie Robinson and his page being removed from, I think it was Department of Defense website that listed athletes, and the attention you brought to it resulted in that decision being reversed. But you also offer up your opinions and your thoughts on the direction of baseball in a way that I think it's fair to say our other insiders, Adam and Shams included, don't do as frequently. You're kind of in a different space where there's opinion and there's transaction. How do you balance that? What are those challenges like for you? And also I wanted Shams and Adam's thoughts about watching Jeff do that, because it's something a little bit different. Jeff,
it's tricky. And I don't know that I always land it, and I don't know that I always do it right, and I don't always know that it's the right thing to do. Honestly, I think baseball journalism historically has been more of a storytelling medium where the reporters almost have a responsibility and a duty to try and keep a check on the game. And look, we got into this business to hold powerful people accountable. I know I did, at least. Like that to me was part of things. Like that's a job of journalism. And I think journalism in plenty of ways outside of sports has gotten away from that. And it's been questioned, and people's ethics have been put up there. And that, frankly, I worry sometimes, especially like with the collective bargaining agreement expiring soon. Is that same thing going to happen to me? People, last time around, folks at Major League Baseball question that. And I'm okay with it because I feel like I do things the right way. And it all, Jeremy, is just trying to go to one point, which is, what's the truth? That's our job. Our job is to find the truth and to tell the truth. And sometimes the truth is going to be uncomfortable. And if I have to get slings and arrows for that, I'm not trying to be a martyr here. It's just something that comes along with the job, and something that I hope I've built up enough credibility over time to weather.
How do you guys deal with the backlash when you post things and you know that even though you're just posting something that might be factual, and there is an online mob that's going to react? And in the old days when it was newspapers, you really didn't have to think about it, right? And there might be a comment section on the website, but they could always deactivate that. It's a different world now. How does the reaction inform the way you report? Shams?
Yeah. As far as Jeff, I will say I like when he roasts people on Twitter, but I love like the reporting that he does, like the Bryce Harper meeting with the baseball commissioner. Like those are the deep stories. If Jeff hadn't reported that, like the world wouldn't have known that had happened, right? And so I think back to stories, like there was a story this last season, like Tyrese Maxey essentially calling out Joel Embiid in a team meeting, a players only meeting, for being tardy and needing to show more accountability. And I wouldn't say I received backlash for that story, but I received a lot of, who gave you that? How did you hear that? Who was your source? And to me, those are the best stories, is when no one knows who the source is, but they're throwing guesses, and like it's always 99% wrong. Like I saw a quote Joel Embiid actually said, like, I know who the source is. I know who my main source was. I'd be stunned if he knows who that's. So it's like, it's always funny to get the reactions of that. But I think those are the best stories for sure. And I saw what Jeff did there. And so for me, my job is to be a servant for the audience. I'm sure Adam and Jeff feel the same way. Like we're here as messengers of information, accurate, fair, responsible journalism. And that's kind of how I approach it every single day. And I dealt with it with the Jimmy Butler stuff. Like I knew my sourcing on it, and I knew the conversations I was having with people, but I would report, he prefers to be traded. These are his teams. And, you'd see Pat Riley issue a statement saying, we are not trading Jimmy Butler. So like, you're always going to be dealing with things. To me, I just keep my head down. I'm sure these guys do as well. And just, we know what our sourcing is. And as long as we are comfortable with the information and we do the work, like that's all you can rely on.
Usually the amount of blowback and criticism you get is in direct proportion to how interesting the news is. And the more interesting and the more outrageous it is, the more blowback you normally get. And you bring up source guessing. You know who hated that? Mort hated that, because as you guys know, when people are guessing at your sources, they are wrong so much more often than they're right. They're almost never right. Oh,
never. They've never been right.
Unbelievable. But people continue to engage in that foolish act of, oh, well, here's where it came from, or this is where it must be. No. Mort it drive Mort nuts. Like source guessing, it's wrong. And then it discourages other people from talking because they don't want to be outed as a source guest. But look, you're going to write stories in your career. We're doing stories every single day, year round. There are going to be people that always question it and wonder. There was one time I remember one of the more unnerving incidents in my early time at ESPN. On a Monday, 4:00, I get a call that Tony Romo, the Cowboys have a big game against the Eagles that week, playing for the division title, NFC East title. Tony Romo has a back injury, going to need back surgery, not going to play in the game. And I remember about an hour later, the Dallas Cowboys had a press conference, and Jason Garrett stepped to the podium and all the trucks were there. And they said, "What's your reaction to the news?" He said, what do you mean he's having backs? He's fine. We'll see if he can practice Wednesday. And for 3, 4, 5 days, I had people ripping on me all on Twitter. It was nasty. I still have some of the quotes saved in my likes. And on Friday morning, 2 days before the game, the Dallas Cowboys announced that Tony Romo was having season-ending back surgery. So if you know your job and you know you're doing what's right, all you can do is continue to stand behind that, no matter what other people are saying.
Inevitably, though, right? You guys are going to get things wrong. And it might be a very small percentage. It just comes with the territory. When you do, how do you handle it publicly and privately with the people who are involved in the story? What's the rule of thumb, Jeff?
Privately, it's. I mean, I think it's similar publicly and privately. Let's start publicly. You apologize. Like, if you got something wrong, it's our duty to get things right. We didn't get things right. You thus have to go out to that audience that Shams was talking about and say, I made an error. And it sucks. Like, we really, really, really strive hard to get everything right because our credibility is all we've got. You know, relationships, when you don't have credibility, they fall apart. Audience, when you don't have credibility, goes to find it somewhere else. And so with the public, that's the case. But privately, I know when I've missed stuff, I've almost tried to become a detective on how that happened. Like, what did Adam, we got something good?
Oh yeah, we do. We got a fish.
Like 3 minutes left. We'll get you out of here, guys. You've been very generous with your.
Can we pause this right now? Oh, seriously.
Sure.
Hold on a second. Pause it.
I love
if this is a Micah Parsons contract.
Aaron Rodgers has not retired.
Now I feel like the rest of the
By the way, my heart's pounding.
I'm sure it is.
This is great.
See, it's so cool to get to see this because you know that fans do this. They refresh their Twitter with us. And I'm doing this right now.
I'm trying to type it, and it's like, I know I got this going. My heart's pounding. Here we go.
Also, good job, Shefty.
It's 11:54 Eastern Daylight Time, Tuesday, August 5th. I want to be able to, document it so we can see what the tweet is. This was not a setup. I just want.
No, this is what news is, Jeremy. Like, this is how it works.
It's good being on this other side right now of seeing this.
Great. We're just gonna wait. I'm not,
Here we go. Hold on, we're gonna queue it up for. Hold on a second.
You gotta short stop it too.
Going to the Schefter.
Yeah, hold on. I'm getting it all lined up here. Hold on.
I love that we're getting to see like a behind the scenes of the process here. This is tremendous.
Okay, now we got to post it up on. It's all ready to go on. Where is it?
Okay.
Hold on.
Refreshing.
What the hell? No, hold on. No, I can't find the picture for what the hell's going on here. Hold on.
The artwork.
Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. Bang. Okay. Ready, guys?
Yep.
Let's see it.
Here we go. Drum roll.
Bam. Bam. Bam.
There it is.
Extension season.
All right.
Please.
Just in.
A dramatic reading from someone.
Just in. Rams running back Kyron Williams reached agreement on a 3-year, $33 million extension, including $23 million guaranteed for Drew and Jason Rosenhaus. Breaking news, got the picture up there. Shefty, that was professionally done.
Got to get the picture in.
Well done.
I am seeing the master at work. Like, that was pretty cool to see it just from start to finish. That Shams, that's kind of what it's like, right?
It's good to be on the other side of seeing this. Definitely good to be on the other side. I feel like a fan. I am a fan of Adams, but this is
my blood pressure. It's like 160 over 130 right now. It's just like, I don't know how you guys do it. I mean, it's so, and I'm being entirely sincere. It's so impressive. Shams, this is really our first time talking, but I've talked to Jeff and Adam about this in the past. And it's like what Jeff said before. It's so impressive. It's important. These sports mean so much to people. You provide insights. You give us information. And sometimes it's things that we might find out or we will find out later, but often it's not as well, or it would remain secret forever. So my hat's off to you guys. I think Adam's still slightly off camera, so he's still busy.
Yeah, I'm still dealing
with a tweet like that. Just curious, somebody whose tweets have a reach of about 16 people. Like, how many people by the end of the day will have retweeted, seen that tweet? Do you think?
Oh, you could look yourself later and just see.
Oh, I know, but we're in real time. It's noon. What do you think? Is that like a 4 million views?
I don't know. It'll be sizable. It's a running back. It's in LA. It has impacts on the James Cook deal. So we'll see. But deal. that was. I had a feeling this deal was getting done today. I didn't know it was going to be getting done while we were doing this and talking about these types of actual situations.
All right, I got to let you guys go because there are more scoops to be scooped. But one last question for all you guys, and you touched on this earlier, Shams, about the excitement. You guys clearly have maintained your enthusiasm. Woj, our former colleague, retired from this, went to St. Bonaventure, run the basketball program over there. When will you know it's time to put down the phone? Jeff?
Probably sooner than later. And
how will you know is a better question, I suppose.
I don't know. I don't know how specifically I'll know. But what I do know is that I've missed way too many days with my kids, vacations with my wife, time with friends, important events, to continue doing this for the length of time that perhaps some others have. And, I have lived a very fortunate and very cool life doing this job, but there are other lives to live too.
Shams?
I think for me, I think I said it earlier, I think Adam just spoke to it. If you don't have the adrenaline, if you don't get those goosebumps, if you don't get that like pump in your chest and the heartbeats racing, like my heartbeat still races, like on especially big news, but even like, I mean, it could be a middle tier free agent and I'm treating it like it's the biggest thing in the world. For me, that's the gravity that you give everything. In my opinion, if you're not doing that, you're not doing the job, the right service, and your responsibility, the right service. Because I said earlier, you're a servant to the audience. The day I don't feel like that's my job, the day I don't feel like I have that adrenaline, that's the day where I'm totally comfortable moving on. For me, though, I don't think that point's going to come for at least I mean, I see myself doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. I hope to have a career as long as Adam's. He's someone that I've looked at and admired from afar for a really long time. But again, I'm saying this right now. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. So it's easy for me to say, but that's how I view it right now.
Shams, how old are you right now?
31.
I'm 58. So you got 27 more years to go.
Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Minimum. Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
31. So I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. I've been doing this for over 35 years.
And you look the same. So
yeah,
got to give you credit.
I don't know about that, but it's, as I said, not for the faint of heart. It is a grueling business, but it's glorious too. And it's tremendously gratifying when you're out front on things. And, again, we all have great curiosity about how this works and trades that are going down and contracts that are being signed and people that are being hired and fired. People care about their teams. They care about the sport. And we get to try to bring them that information as fast as we can.
Can't say it any better than that. Adam Schefter, Shams Charania, Jeff Passan. Gentlemen, it has been an education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.